Shall we wait a moment? Oh no, it's restarting. I'm going to wait a moment because I've still got the adverts. There we go. We're back. So we're class focused podcast again this week. We're talking about 4 different classes, I hope. The Eldritch, the Heretic, Brewmaster and Wizard. We're going to be discussing I have a few players who play these classes and they are quite willing to come on to the stream and talk about their play styles and their experience of playing these classes. I'd like to start with Ramek, if that's okay. He's going to talk to us about Wizards. Can you tell me your spec and the kind of play that you do? Are you EU or US playtime?
So I'm US playtime, usually in the evenings. I haven't had as much time to play lately as I used to, but I run generally with the Dark Knights of Camelot Alliance battle group in the evenings, and then I do some 8-manning later on in the evening. I've been playing off and on for about 14 years, and I've been playing Wizard for probably close to 2 or 3 years now. I float specs. I don't have a particular spec that I stick with. It really depends on what I'm doing. I'd like to promote, the matter spec more than anything else, I think, today, because I think it's one of the most underutilized specs. And a lot of people would tell me that I have probably the easiest time out of all of the classes that are being discussed, because frankly, Wizards are generally balanced. There's very little, if anything, that needs, I think, attention in terms of Wizards, because I think we really have it good compared to a lot of the other classes that are being discussed over the past couple of weeks and in the future.
Well, that's good to know. It's nice to know that the Wizards seem to run well for you. So you're saying the matter line, is that the Earth path?
Right. So there's, and it looks like Jax has joined us too, and I believe Jax is going to be chiming in. There's, hey Jax. So there's 3 specs, of course, that you can go, and I think, there's a good chunk of Wizards out there that spec fire, of course, for the range. Ice is something that we've not seen a whole lot of, at least in the public and the private battle groups recently. I think partially because of the fact that, mids have a great, a lot better time in close quarter battles than we do, especially with the warlocks. But then there's also matter, and I don't think matter is played as often as it should be, because it's a phenomenal spec for support. You play a wizard, you don't really play it for a support class, but it can be one of the top RP earning specs for wizards if you play it right, and it can be really devastating and quite good, especially if you don't have a whole lot of Kabbalists in the battle group for the massive RVR fights that we see, especially during EU prime time and US prime time.
Okay, and Jax, what are your thoughts on specking? Sorry, can I get you to say, do you play EU time? What spec do you normally run? Do you run 8-man, small man, BG, that kind of thing for me, please?
Yeah, well, I'm obviously British, so I run Euro time, I guess, and always fire spec I run, and yeah, I go in 8-mans, small mans and BGs really, so all full range, I guess.
Fantastic. And how do you find the fire spec? That's fire magic. Is that a good does it work well? Is there anything that's not so great about the fire spec, or is it a really nice sort of spec to run?
Yeah, I quite enjoy fire, to be honest with you. In terms of, I find it quite a balanced class, really, to be fair, caster to caster. Where I've sort of got a few problems is mainly defensive abilities, really, I suppose. Yeah, especially against like a push tank group or whatever.
And I'd have
Yeah,
to
I think
chime in and agree with Jax. You know, a lot of people, a lot of wizards are very happy with the rank 5, but I think comparable to the sorcerer's rank 5, you know, it's not, the survivability isn't certainly as great as wizards, especially in that push tank situation. That's probably the only weakness in the class, I think, is being able to stay up, especially when, you know, you've got so many tanks and other casters pushing on you. It's very difficult in close quarter fights with other melee classes, especially trying to be rescued out of a situation like that. We go down extremely quick, even with you know, using physical defense as the RA. You know, even some wizards that spec really high in PD tend to drop very quickly because we just don't have anything else to turn to.
Yeah, I think that
Yeah, that's
it
one of
does
the
make it
problems I
quite
find
hard.
with it, really. I was just going to say that's one of the problems I find, because obviously the Fire Wizzy, I'm just thinking about damage, maximum damage. All my realm abilities are focused towards that wild power, mastery of magery, augur acuity, and dex as well. And I don't really, so that's at a sacrifice of any defensive realm abilities I can get as well. So that's what I find is a little bit of a problem.
Yeah, I think charge tanks for any kind of caster can be really hard. I mean, you guys don't get a pet either, do you? So I know a lot of pets tend to take a blow or provide an intercept, or you know, give a heal or whatever. So you don't actually get a pet at all, do you?
No, that's right, yeah, and we only get a single route as well. And that's one of the things I'd like, really, is I've spoken to a few Wizzies lately before I come on here. They're sort of, and myself as well, I'd like a snare type spell in the fire range maybe, so it gives you that double sort of protection, I guess. Or maybe, Teddy touched on the RR5 then, maybe that could be made a snare as well as a damage as well, because when a tank attacks you, you can't do, you know, you set your RR5 off and it doesn't really do anything, you know. So if RR5 was a snare as well as a damage, that would interrupt the caster, plus you give you a bit of time to escape or reposition. So
Yeah, that's definitely a problem. Matter is so underutilized. Matter's one of my favorite specs to play. The damage output isn't anywhere near fire, but that's okay because we do have a snare. So if you're high enough realm rank where you can spec high enough in acuity and you've got a decent temp, you can do a lot of damage with Matter. A lot of damage, especially in 8v8. It's amazing with that AoE snare DD. You know, and the near sight, being able to cast near sight, it's great. But for fire wizards, right, it really is lacking. And having a second kind of CC, or maybe a route that's that doesn't have immunity. You know, somebody mentioned to me that Veilwalkers have the ability to be able to kite very well. Not comparing fire wizards to Veilwalkers directly, but you know, something that gives us a little bit of an ability to escape. So maybe adding snare, like Jack said, to the rank 5 would work very well for us. But we
yeah,
really don't
I
have a
guess
whole lot
that
to
could be
complain about.
no, that could be a realm rank 5 ability, or a realm ability. You know, that's what I would like. Just another little bit. That's about it, really.
Yeah, and when I say matter, people in the chat are correcting me. It is Earth. When I say matter, I do mean Earth.
Yeah, I've never played Earth, to be fair. Just always fire, really.
But the Earth does do, the Earth line is all matter damage, isn't it? So yeah,
It is.
I
Yeah,
understand where
people.
you're coming.
Yeah, we refer to it as a lot of us refer to it as a matter spec. But it is definitely one of the most underutilized specs, I think, of any class in the game, possibly. The only change I would make, and people are going to smack me around in chat probably because I'm saying more damage, and I don't really mean, you know, for Fire Wizards, certainly more damage. But the GT AoE that is in the Earth line would love to see a small boost to that. Right now, it's just annoying, even with 50 Earth. All it is annoying. It really doesn't do anything, and there's a 6-second timer on it. So that cooldown, it doesn't really do anything. I'd like to see, if people are going to spec Earth, I'd love to see something different there, maybe a small increase in damage. Because especially when we're in these nice keep fights where we're working on people that have siege on the inside, or being able to target, say, warlocks in the front, or somebody maybe up in the oil level, it would be great to be able to be a little bit more annoying, because I think that's a really interesting and fun ability. But besides that, it's just it's a great class to play. It's a very simple caster class. Anybody who's starting off an alb who wants to go with a caster, who's new to the game, I'd say hands down it's probably the best class to start with. And it's a lot of fun to play.
Yeah, that's right. I think talking about realm abilities earlier, I've recently played a lock just for sort of comparison, or just to explore a few mids really, I suppose. But the lock has got a wild power buff for 10%. That would free up the Wizzy to spend more of his realm abilities in defense, maybe, like PD, etc. So I don't know whether that's something to think about.
Okay, so you've given us a few things that could possibly be changed. Maybe a look at the realm rank 5 on it to see if that could include a snare of some kind to give you a chance to actually get away from a group of tanks or whatever. It seems like you're saying the Wizards is probably the easiest and the most balanced class at the moment in mid and in Alb, and you enjoy playing it.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's when you face a tank group that's where I have problems. Against another caster group, we're pretty even, I'd say. But when you have a tank push group, it's not a very enjoyable gaming experience, I guess. That's what I'm getting. I'd like to be able to last longer, I guess, and reposition myself. Give me a fighting chance, really.
I don't think I've had as much fun in this game as I've had on a wizard duoing with a Smite Cleric or a Mini. Smite Cleric preferable, because it just being able, the damage output and being able to get that stun off. But I've done a lot of duoing recently with a Smite Cleric, a really good Smite Cleric on Alb, and I don't think I haven't had anywhere near as much fun as I have with that duo. There's just, there's certain classes obviously that pair really well with others. Smite Cleric and Wizard are really, really, really fun to play together.
Now, I wanted to ask about the ML path. They can go either Convoker or Stormlord. Ramik, which ML path do you run on your Wizard?
Convoker. I think probably Thugs, should always stick with Stormlord, but I really don't see a reason to go Stormlord with Wizards, especially when we're the kind of class that doesn't take a whole lot of, and I'm not going to put down Wizards who play, but doesn't take a whole lot of thought to play it. There's not a lot of preparation involved. You're running it and you're nuking. You're picking targets off, casting storms. It's not really something you have time to do in either 8v8 or BG fights. Convoker adds a lot of flexibility to Wizards, especially being able to kite. Something that Albs need to do more often, certainly, but being able to kite, with a speed warp is, you have to have that in the group. And if you don't have enough Convokers, like Albs generally don't, it's super important that your damage classes in the group are Convokers so that you have that ability to kite. So I personally run and prefer Convoker hands down.
And Jax, do you run Convoker as well?
Yeah, I do, yeah. That sort of suits my playstyle, I guess, as traps and speed warps as well. That's probably the main thing as I use. So yeah, Convoker.
And we do get a great RA that we don't have a whole lot of points to put in, but we get the Decimation Trap and Volcanic Pillar, the two really fun RAs to play with as a wizard.
That's right.
And if you're a Convoker and you have a Decimation Trap, you have a 2-for-1 combo. And if you spec all the way up with the Decimation Trap and you get the top level of it, I think it hits for 900 or 1,000 base damage. So between your trap and your Decimation Trap, you can do a whole ton of damage on the Convoker line, and that's a lot of fun.
Well, thank you very much. I think that was quite a good covering about wizards themselves and some of the different ways that things might be changed on those classes or might be looked at to increase their playability a bit more. It sounds like more against tank groups because you seem to be quite well balanced versus caster groups.
Yeah, hands down. We have the easiest job, I think, out of anybody talking, certainly today, if not throughout this whole class balance line of podcasts. It's one of the most well-rounded, I think, classes in the game, certainly in terms of casters with range. Hands down, it's probably the most balanced class in the game as it stands right now.
Yeah, I'd kind of agree with that, I guess. I haven't got much to say about, negative things about it, really. So, yeah, that's about it.
So, I see on Twitch they're talking about wizards not getting anything for defense or instant cast, and we've kind of spoken about that. Maybe a look at their realm rank 5 to give them a chance to give it a bit of a snare or a root or something like that, including in the damage line to give them that chance to change. And that's what these podcasts are about. It's about how can we look at that class, what can we do to, does it need changing, and if it does, I mean, we don't want to go crazy, but sometimes a small little tweak here and there can make a big difference to how that class works.
Yeah, I guess so. Like an instant snare would be great. I'm not asking for stun, but an instant snare would be great, yeah.
Yeah, the stun that's everybody's dream in the game is to get the stun nuke, but we can live without it. I think we do pretty well as is.
Yeah, I think, yeah.
Fantastic, thank you very much. Now we've got Smackadope and Vix are going to have a chat about heretics. So, Smackadope, can you tell me what kind of play you play? Is it EU play? Is it US prime time? Do you run in a BG or 8-man? I know a lot of people running different things at different times of the day, but what do you normally do?
I'm an American player, so I play US time, usually pretty late in the day. I play a melee tick, so we'll just say that I'm a niche player, I guess. Primarily solo, and I'll talk about why, I guess, and when we start getting to the nitty-gritty here.
Thank you very much. And Vix, you play Heretic as well? Do you play melee or not?
I'm a US player, and I play a caster tick.
And what kind of running do you do? Do you do 8-man or BG or?
I'm 8-man or BG.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you. Smackadope, please explain your spec and why it is that you run a melee tick.
Well, I'll start off by why. Going on Classic, I had a friend who was a hybrid tick. I always thought it was kind of intriguing just having the PD on a melee class with proc-based damage. It sounds like something that was fun. So I like that, but I wanted to go pure melee. So I'm 50 enhance, excuse me. 44 flex, 35 shield, and the rest is in rejuve. So just full on, like, beat me up, and then I'll hit you with my Brock's kind of play style. It's just something, I don't know. It's hard to explain. It just works for me. I like it.
Okay, and you say you run solo all the time. Do you enjoy running solo, or do you sometimes go, oh, I wish I had someone to back me up here?
Sometimes, so during my solo Twitch streams or just randomly on post count, people will say, I'll do duo with your tick, and then I always say, well, there's not a whole lot I can give you with my spec. My damage is very positional, so it's situational depending on if I can land a side for Cobra. I don't do a whole lot of spell damage. I can't really heal that well. So I'm like, I really honestly don't have a whole lot to offer you outside of maybe some interrupts and somebody to sponge some damage. So I generally try to shy away from it.
And have there been any recent changes to the heretics that you know about that have made the class different and how they play different, or is there nothing that's changed in your playstyle being a melee tick?
Really, as far as any class changes, there hasn't really been anything. I think the last change that I can remember was the spell pierce buff. So, obviously that opens up your ability to template a little easier. But outside of that, I can't think of anything that's really been changed since I started playing it. It's been, I think, 4 years, 5 years, something like that.
Okay, and Vix, how do you find playing your heretic? I mean, you say you play BG and 8-man stuff. Do you enjoy it? Does it bring a lot to the group? Does it make a big difference in your fights having a tick in the group or BG?
Yeah, I play a caster. I'm 50 in enhance and 46 in rejuve, 34 in flex. Uh, the realm rank, most of the group wants the realm rank 5 that the tick can offer, and I find it's really good. It's an all-round player class. I can heal like a third of what a cleric heals at. As far as recent changes, I think it's one of the changes was more on the positive side, where they nerfed the monster res, but they made it more frequently, which is a lot better.
Fantastic. What is the Heretics Realm Rank 5? If you can explain for us.
Realm rank 5 is fanaticism, and it gives a protection to the melee class and to the clerics.
Okay, so it means that they can absorb a lot more damage than normal. Do you know how long it lasts? Let me have a look. I've got one. Oh, it says 45 seconds here.
It's a
Right,
30
and
second. Sorry. It's a 30-second magic damage absorb or reduction.
that must make quite a difference to especially if you're facing a caster group. How much damage your let's say chain wearers or plate wearers actually take from cast. I tend to see a lot of the pulsing, the heretic. I run BG, so I tend to see a lot of the pulsing damage that increases as time goes by. Have you run that spec before?
Yes, that's in the rejuve, but they also have the lava, which slows them down. It'll slow a group of them down so that they can be attacked a lot better.
Okay, we've also been talking about master level paths, and I see that heretics get Banelord or Perfector. Smackadope, can I ask you what line do you go?
I went Banelord mostly for interrupts and the debuffs. I mean, for a tick or a solo anything, having interrupts for multiples is pretty important. So, you get a clutch Banelord drop, and, it's a difference between killing somebody or not killing somebody if you're fighting, 2 or more people.
And Vix, how about yourself?
I go more towards the Perfector because I do more healing than fighting hand to hand, of course, and it gives you the different fonts where you can drain power and you can gain power, or you can yeah, that's about it.
Okay, so it's nice to see that both types of ML paths are used. Would you consider changing if they gave you the option to have a change of ML path, or are you quite happy with the ML path that you've got? I know some people go, "Oh, I'd love to be Warlord or Stormlord or whatever." Are you quite happy with the two paths that heretics are allowed?
Yep.
I'm quite happy with the two paths.
Not a whole lot to ask for there.
No, it seems like you're quite happy with the way those things go. Um, Sorry. What's the best thing about this class? And then also on the opposite side, what's the worst thing about this class? Smackadope, if you can tell me what you think your best attribute is, and obviously on the reverse side, what's the worst thing about
For me, it's all about the ability to survive. So you get PD, you get a shield, you get life tap, procs. So in most situations, in your route, sorry, most situations you can draw out a fight long enough to win, or if your goal is just to get away, generally you can get away from most one versus ones, or sometimes two versus ones or more. So from there you get a lot to play with. The worst part for me at least is just the from a melee tick standpoint is just the anytime damage. I get a side stun, well, not side stun, side proc chain where that's my significant chunk of damage. Even like an idea earlier was to make Levia one part, just DD, kind of like Reavers. Something like that would probably benefit a little more, so you have some more reliable damage, but there's still a caveat if you need to land a positional for it. And really just burst, if anything, for melee damages or melee ticks is rough without having a stun or something like that.
Okay, and Vix, can you tell us what's your favourite part about playing a tick, and what makes you go, oh no, not again?
I think the best part is with a, at least with a caster tick, is that they are an all-round versatile player. They can heal, they can fight. Uh, the worst part is the survivability. I think they need to improve the weapon skill, and I'd like to see them change the accursed misery into a single target into a single target buff rather than a group target buff.
Okay, thank you both very much.
If you cast the accursed misery in a group, you impede the healers.
I'm looking for that spell.
That's the buff shear defensive proc.
Oh right, okay. So it makes the healer's job more difficult.
Yeah, it's the debuff. It's the defensive buff, but it also overrides the uh, healing proc on the clerics or friars.
Ah, I see. So that might be something that possibly needs looking at. I don't know if it's been like that forever, or if that's something that's recently come into play.
It's been like that forever.
Oh, maybe it's not something they're going to look at then. Having said that, you never know. I mean, that's what this is all about. It's about trying to get a bit of a discussion going and get people saying, "Oh yeah, I like this about that class, and this could do with changing." It's all about trying to let broadsword know what players think of these classes and how they need to be looked at.
Just a little personal thing, I guess, if I have to throw it out there. Um, the insta dot, I think, just not only on heretics, but just in general. I can't think of a situation where an instant dot would be good, especially on, you know, a class where you're going to want to get spacing, or in groups you're going to want to crowd control. So it's just, I don't know, it's a nice interrupt because I'll never turn on an interrupt, but it's a little inconvenient after that. Maybe it was like a, you know, the chanter pet proc or dot where it interrupts every tick, which I would say is probably hilariously overpowered. It would be nice, but yeah, just nitpicking for the sake of nitpicking.
Yeah, I think it's quite hard with the dot. That's I don't know how much the damage is. If the damage is relatively low, then it's kind of more just an annoyance than actually making a difference sometimes. An instant one's probably quite good if you're trying to interrupt someone to get close enough. But yeah, I see exactly what you're saying.
Yeah, but a tick has two dots. It has the burning embers, which is instant, and it also has the stranglehold.
Yeah, and again, I'm talking, you know, more along in general. So your Veilwalker, your Reaver, anything with a dot for the sake of interrupts, because the delve isn't high enough for it to really matter. It's just an annoyance.
Okay, that's fantastic. Thank you for sharing your thoughts on your class and the heretic and how you play it. We're going to move on to Rune Masters now, and we have Shushu here who's going to talk. She plays a Rune Master on mid. She's going to talk about her class. If you can tell me what spec you play and what time you play, you know, all those kind of things, the basics of your class. I think Mary fell asleep waiting for me to pull her in to the chat. Mary!
She's gone off to make a cup of tea.
No, I'm trying to set better my sound. It's very bad. I'm sorry. Okay, I'm Shushu. I play Honeymaster mostly afternoons with Euro people and during the night with USA people because I'm Brazilian. So please forgive me for my mistakes with my English. And my Honeymaster is honey carve with his suppression.
Okay, so you play a split spec, or is it more rune carving or more suppression?
No, I'm in 46 honey carving, and I like this pack. I really like. I enjoy the boats. I only think that our OE, that are the spares, are not so strong, but still, it's a nice line. I like that line more than darkness and suppression that has a lot of things that people told me to that need more love.
Okay, the rune carving is the I mean, it's on mid. It's seen as the debuff line. Do you use your debuffs a lot, or is that something that kind of falls by the wayside?
Sorry, I didn't understand your question.
Uh, Rune carving is mainly, well, it has some very nice debuffs. Do you use the debuffs all the time, or is it just every now and then?
Okay, of course, I use all the debuffs. That helps a lot. When we have the time. I think that the casting time is a little bit slow, at least to me. I don't know if the problem is my connection or the two, but I always have a problem. So I try to debuff fast because not all debuffs are instant. Some you need to cast after to cast a bolt or to cast something different, but they are very useful. About the RR5 ability, I'm talking my personal opinion, I love my R5 ability. That's the only thing to survive, because about the rest, animals don't have any way to survive when you get hit. Nothing.
Yeah, which allows you to evade melee attacks 90%. Melee attacks, it says on my character plan.
Yeah, but it's more like 50%.
And this is Tyreels, who also plays a Rune Master, pretty much exclusively, I believe. So what spec do you run, Tyrell?
I've ran them all, but mainly I run what's called Dark Carving, where you go just high enough to get the cold debuff, and then the rest, we go 11 sup to get near sight, and then the rest dark, so your baseline nuke has no variance.
Okay, and what kind of playstyle do you do? If I can ask, what time? I'm assuming US mainly.
Right. I play on the night in the U.S. prime time, and I 8-man with my guild, probably about EU prime time area.
Yes.
Okay. Is there any particular? I mean, I've got a few questions here. Are there any particular playstyles that are lacking for this class? You know, does it work well? Does it work better solo? Does it work better in a group? You know, are you looking for an assist train? How does it work for you? If I can ask you to first.
I think right now the class is really the group has to be built around the class. It really doesn't fit in an 8-man unless it's going to be a caster train 8-man. Right now mids preferably pick up Spirit Masters and Bone Dancers over Rune Masters, because we just don't have a lot of utility. We're just damage. As far as soloing, it's pretty much near impossible to solo on a Rune Master. You just don't have enough utility. You know, right now we're just mainly the main damage dealers, and if something gets on us, we're pretty much out of luck.
Yes, we have that problem. We don't have a lot of nothing to add much for a group. Like we don't have anything instant. Our root and snare, I think, has serious problem, because at least to me sometimes doesn't work. Nothing. And we don't have nothing that can be instant, like a DD, nothing. Snare, very low.
Yeah, I mean, I played my Rune Master the other day, and the damage just seemed. I mean, I normally play a Warlock, but playing my Rune Master, the damage seemed undarkness spec on mine, obviously, but it seemed reasonably good, better than my Warlock. My Warlock's a lot higher realm rank than my Rune Master.
Yeah, I think.
How would you say the damage works? Because I definitely think it's a lot better than, you know, for a single target kind of a killer class. It definitely works a lot better than another type of class.
Right, I agree. I think we can do a lot of single target damage. Our bolts are lacking. They don't hit nearly as hard as they should per the delve. I believe we tested the other night. Our delve was only like 10 points lower than yours, but you hit like 200 to 300 hit points harder than me. And we have the same Master Majory Wild Power. I think, like you said, our Dark Nuke hits fairly well. I mean, it hits really hard, to be quite frankly about it. But it kind of traps you into only playing Dark Spec, because the other two lines' damage is just lacking too much.
Yeah, our damage is not so strong. And if we get any kind of interrupt, it's almost impossible. I play Warlock too. My Warlock is way lower than my Handmaster. And my Warlock damage is way better than Warlock. I don't know why.
Okay, now I can see in Twitch Alex is saying unnerf the bolts. What was the nerf that was put in place on the bolts, if you can explain?
They used to cast faster. I don't know if I noticed that they definitely can cast a lot slower now. I don't know if the damage got changed or anything, but I don't know if it's just he's talking about that tanks can absorb some of the damage now or block partial of it if they have a shield or whatnot. But I do think that the bolts, too much of the damage gets absorbed by either ablatives or maybe if there was a way that bolts just didn't, they ignored ablatives, because you got to figure that's a lot of our damage out of that line, and you took it away from us with your ablative up, and now we have to wait, what is it, 10 seconds to recast one?
Yeah, that's horrible because the boat mainly, most of the time, you don't do a great damage. It's not good. It's different from another classes caster.
With wizards, we don't, our bolts don't get absorbed, but they do get blocked. They can be blocked. And we experienced a change several years ago with a cast time. I think we got bumped up from 2 seconds to 2.5 seconds for the bolts. It didn't really affect us all that much. I don't know, of course, how it affects you guys, but we experienced, I think, a similar quote-unquote nerf some time ago.
Yeah, it might have been across all three realms. I just remember being able to cast both my bolts and being able to get my nuke off before my first bolt hit, and now it's maybe my first nuke gets off about the time that the second bolt gets there. I think the idea behind bolts is to have surprise damage, and that surprise damage is gone when you can't stack your damage on somebody quickly like that.
That's true. And I don't know if you have that problem, but I do have a serious problem with my route. Most of the time, doesn't work well.
Is it just getting resisted?
Yeah, just doesn't work properly. I don't know why.
And the route seems to be in the suppression line, but that's a base route, isn't it? So it's still level 49.
Right, I don't really
Yeah.
notice a problem with the route, to be honest.
You are dark, right? I have that on honey carving. And a lot of honey masters, I was asking about what they think about the class, and they told me that suppression line is missing a lot of things that they don't have. Some feel that it is something missing about spells.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at the character planner. There seems to be a lot of. I'm not sure if it's utility, but there's definitely a lot of spells in there if you spec suppression. But I know suppression's always kind of tended to be for the blade turn, um, which is, you know, which people can have on continuously and can make a big difference if you're running in a cast in a tank group. Rather.
Yeah, but I don't know. I like to play my Honeymaster. I do, but I think we can't survive a lot. I understand that it's a caster class, but still we don't have nothing offensive. You get at least the time caster is long. It's different from um, dark spirit master that at least can have a life tap to help.
Okay, we've been talking about what kind of ideas would you have for ways to improve that class and to make it more of a better group friendly class or a better BG class? Have you got any ideas on kind of things you'd like to see slightly? Let's not get crazy here. You're not getting stuck.
I think my opinion on what we could use is maybe some debuffs, not necessarily stat debuffs. I mean resist debuffs, but some stat debuffs in a dark line would be nice. Some spec 8 dex quick or something like that. Um, and then our Realm Rank 5 needs either to be 100% evade or something else completely. Because if you pop it and you get stunned as a caster, you're dead now. Room Master or Elders don't get stunned when they get their Realm Rank 5, so it needs to be fixed a little bit. And I agree with the Wizzies, what they said earlier too. I think the Roam Ring 5 is, quite frankly, a joke too, compared to the Eldris Roam Ring 5. Um, that's it really. Just they need some to put some insta debuffs maybe in the Dark Line. Maybe buff all three, the Eldritch, the Wizard, and the Rune Master's bolts a little bit, make them cast faster again, or make them do more damage, or ignore being blocked. I don't know. These are just suggestions. I don't think we should get them all, but yeah, that's it.
I think we need something that maybe better snare, like Warlock have, some debuff, something that helps more the group and help us. I agree with Tyhell about that.
Okay, and we've also been talking about the master level paths, and rune masters can be convokers or stormlords. Which ML path do you guys run?
On Tyrells, I run Convoker, mainly just for the speed warp. You really don't gain anything else out of it besides the traps, being that we don't have a pet.
Yeah, I run Convoker as well.
Okay, so if there was an option for a different master level ML path, would you look at changing it, and what kind of ML path would you like to have?
I
Or are
wouldn't
you quite
change.
happy with Convoker?
I wouldn't say I'm happy with Convoker, but I wouldn't change because the speed warp is needed so much. I think they should just relook at some of the things in the Convoker line, like the Battle Warder. It's kind of useless, um, and look through all the other stuff that doesn't get used in that line. Um, that's just my opinion.
Yes, because we only can use the speedword, the traps, and nothing more. I can't cast a ML pet, nothing.
Yeah, I'd like Town Wash on Twitch is saying Banelord Rooney's. I'm not too sure. I'd be too pleased about that. But how would you think about a Banelord Rooney? Or would you still be, no, that's not going to work for my club?
In my opinion, without PBAE without PBAE, I don't think Banelord's really a good idea on a Rune Master, but I'm sure somebody can make it work.
What, you guys don't like Battle Wars? Battle Warders are amazing.
They are the best.
Other than being total mezangers, no. Little sarcasm.
Yeah, exactly. And the Crystal Titan's great. You put it in the middle of an archway, and then perfect place for an enemy ST.
And totally
Crystal
underused in PvE too. Crystal Titans are great, amazing in PvE, and serve a great purpose in RVR too. I love CT.
Raj, they do serve a great purpose in PvE, and they used to serve a good purpose in RVR, but now with the hammer showing up as soon as you get there, they don't really serve much of a purpose.
Yeah, I think sometimes, depending upon where you are, it can make a good. I know a lot of players, I myself do it, tab target quite a lot. So it can be quite frustrating if you're tab targeting and you're constantly getting that Crystal Titan, which is closer than the geezer who's shooting a bolt at you from the top of a roof or whatever.
Well, it's also helpful too when you're running a small man or an 8-man that's trying to take real estate out in RVR, right? Because I know the hammer shows up, or the cup shows up or whatever, but the point is sometimes if it's a really high level keep, you don't really have the resources to deal with all those guards on you. So just from an absorption point of view, I think CTs help as well. You're already given up anyways. That and I think there's some upsides and some downsides to that. But CTs can be used just to simply get guards off of you, which I think we use in an 8-man environment way more often than even in BG.
Okay, and last thing I'm going to ask about Rune Masters, what's the best and last two things, what's the best and worst thing about your class?
Obviously, the best thing about the class has to be the single target damage. and the ability that we could do halfway decent in AE damage. The worst thing I would think is the utility. We don't fit in good 8-mans anymore. Unless the 8-man is built around the Rune Master being your damage, then we would fit in. Yeah, so that'd probably be the only thing that's, I think, that is drawing down the class right now, is that the Spirit Master and the Bone Dancer just fit better in 8-mans.
And Mary?
I think Ty said everything, because the best is our single damage, and the worst that we can't add much to any group. It's hard, and we could, if he, at least we could have a stone, something like that, to help the group, would be great.
Now, we did have Rux who was going to talk about Eldritches, but he seems to have dropped out of vent, so I'm assuming he's had some kind of issue at home and he's needed to drop out. Does anybody here play an Eldritch? Have you played an Eldritch?
Oh, I don't make me the lone Eldritch guy. I wanted to help. That's all.
I played Eldritch many years ago. Played all 3 lines.
Okay, how many years ago? I don't know how much changes they've made to Eldritches, to be honest.
Played one right after the Yawain clustering. And then before that, obviously, all the way up till I started playing the game, I played one. I played Light, Void, and Mana. I don't really know.
Likewise.
Alright. I think their Void line is a lot like the Remaster's line, except a little weaker. The Light line is just, I mean, it's really, to me, it was really great. Obviously, if there was an Eldritch in here right now, he might talk worse about it, but I thought it was really great. You get a spec line nuke, you get Mez, you get Dex quick debuff, you get red near sight, and your Realm Rank 5 is amazing.
Yeah, I think the only thing, I don't think from a class standpoint anything needs to happen to Eldritch. I think Mentalist getting more buffs and love might have superseded having to have an Eldritch in group anymore. And really, you kept around an Elder around for, I mean, at this point, debuffs and disease anymore. But, you know, they used to be able to near sight. Now Mentees get that. They used to have speed warp. Now Mentees get that. So I think a lot of things that held Eldritches has now been given to Mentees, so there's more reason to run a Mentalist over an Eldritch. In most cases, again, you get debuffs, you have disease, so there's situational stuff where you can say, oh yeah, I would like to know here, but there's really a lot more reason to have a Mentalist.
Yeah, I have to agree with him on that. I think the Mentals was a strong class that got a little bit too much love and has killed the LD a little bit.
Okay then, so I mean, I do see a lot of mentalists out and about running around healing those in their group, and when you think you've got the healer locked down and some mentalist comes in behind and goes, yeah, I'm just going to stand here and heal him. So you think that's made a big difference, the fact that a mentee's got quite a bit of love, or you feel that the mentalists have got some love, whereas the Eldritch has kind of missed out on that?
I wouldn't say that Eldritch needs anything. I really think that as a caster or class in general, they're very, very strong. There's a lot of things they can do, and they can do them well. I just think that, you know, maybe Mentalists got a little more than they should have to maybe work Eldritches out of groups, but I still think that, you know, from a class level, they're both very strong.
Yeah, I have to agree 100% with him. I think that the Eldritch is probably one of the most dominant classes in the game. It's just like he said, they've basically made Mentalists the same class, except they have heals and demez and a single target mez. I mean, who would you choose in your group?
I can get
that's very true.
or disease. I can't replace those heals.
No, exactly. I mean, champ heals are nowhere near a mentalist heals at all.
Yeah, and they have demez. I mean, they have a pretty good solid single target mez. They get a pet. They get a debuffing nuke. I mean, so in fact, they probably hit harder than a light eld right now because they're nuke debuffs when they nuke. They get an AE nuke out of that line. Light elders don't get an AE nuke. So, I mean, maybe that's something they could look at doing, is giving the light line an AE nuke, maybe. I don't know.
Well, that's not bad, is it? We've managed to cover all of the classes that we need to talk about. I'd like to say thank you very much to everybody who's joined in today. It's been a really good chat, and hopefully we'll see your post come up on Post Count soon, and people can add their own thoughts and their own ideas and their own preference. So thank you very much, Jax and Zuzu, Ramek, Smackadope, Tyreels, and Vix. I'm going to pass
Thank
it back to
Cheers,
Shalette.
Mega, mate.
Thanks, guys.
Sorry I was late, too.
Yep, sorry I was late too. Thanks for letting me come.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. See you all later, guys.
Thanks everyone, and thank you Smega for the lovely hosting again. And thanks everybody for watching. Please remember we are doing these cloud focused podcasts every week at the moment, every weekend. It's always, the Sunday is always our podcast day. We've got one EU podcast that runs at EU times, and the other 3 podcasts are run by our US nights, and they are run at US times. And we hope you turn in again the next time. Thank you, bye bye.